So again, guys, this is Pointless Discussions request for the month. This is the original song Ice Queen performed by Within Temptation in 2008, and then the acoustic version performed in 2019 for a comparison. We've already talked about Sharon's voice as it's gone through the last 2 decades and shifted drastically in the technique she uses. So this is going to be really, really interesting to see. I also know that Ice Queen is very popular. I've never heard it before, so this will be the first time I hear that song, and I'm super stoked about that. So, yes, it shows the progress of her voice from earlier to present day. The original is bombastic. It has great vocals and live energy. It is one of the first metal songs I have ever heard and holds a special place for me. Well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing it. The acoustic version performed in 2019 was made by Jasper Staverlink on the Belgian version of Best Zongers and features a very different arrangement. It was adopted into Within Temptation's live set during the Resist tour. This version is more intimate, shows a different side of Sharon's voice and a much deeper, grounded sound. Ugh, I love the way you're describing it. It's beautiful. Okay. Well, let's start off. Within Temptation with the Metropole Orchestra, Ice Queen, Live HD. I'm not going to be tricked again. I know this is just the intro.
Let's sing this song together, Ice Queen! On here you sing! And jump!
She was sick on the day of recording? Seriously? She still sounds good. They nearly canceled it, but they didn't. She was like, I can pull through. You know what? I will send this straight to Pointless Discussions after this because I'm realizing I told them I would do this later, but we're in the middle of it and I'm jamming out to her voice. Early Sharon stuff is so, absolutely so gorgeous. Like, so gorgeous. It's very... Now, I know she's a self-taught singer, but the technique that she's naturally found as an artist is, especially early on, right? This was much, much earlier. It's not that earlier in her career, but it's earlier than it is now. Like, if we, knowing how she sounds now and the way she sings now, the change she's made in her voice is so drastic. And I love the way that she is literally just using head voice in such a freaking artful way, right? The Night of the Proms recording from 2009. This is still good, really impressive. You can hear that she's not 100%, but she still sounds good. Yeah, well, if she was sick, then fair enough. You know, she's not going to be at her absolute A game, but the sound she's making, I mean, if your technique can live and exist through illness, it is truly, truly, truly like a valid technique. You're relying on the voice, you're relying on the airstream. What happens when you're sick is that your voice swells, your vocal cords swell. Therefore, you rely on more pressure, more air is needed to make them vibrate evenly. You know, when you don't sound good when you're sick, it's because your vocal cords aren't vibrating evenly. And so when you're able to rely on a technique that is healthy, that is balanced, that is driven by air, and it creates a sound that kind of just works, even if it's sick, even if your cords are swollen, you know, that's a truly reliable technique. And that's what she has. And that's what she has as a self-taught singer. And it's incredibly impressive hearing that, especially hearing that they almost canceled this concert. It's just beautiful, pure head voice that's well supported. It's resonant. It's not doing anything weird. It's great. This is your favorite Within Temptation song? Oh, they'll probably do the acoustic version when we listen to that. The Worlds Collide tour next year will be epic. Oh, I'm sure they'll make a recording of it. I feel like opportunities of like post-COVID lockdown concerts are going to be taken so much more seriously when it comes to like recording and stuff. We'll probably see a lot of fan cams, but I think we'll see much higher quality recordings as well, made by like the producers, because you can't discount that. You can't discount the function, what it really means to have good recordings of your music these days, and the impact it has. I mean, if we've seen stuff on YouTube blow up, we've seen Floor Janssen's YouTube page like get huge in a year without, you know, and just through, you know, the media that has been recycled of her awesome singing. And that impact, we can have that kind of impact on so many different artists by having really good artifacts of their performing. I think that's very important to take into account. And this is one of those artifacts, especially with a singer like Sharon. All right, let's keep going. You can see so many little strategies. First of all, the way she's singing is so simple. It's just, it's not overcomplicated, right? We don't want to overcomplicate our technique. We just want to sing. That's the end of the day. Based on like listening back to what Capriani said earlier, technique is a means to expression, right? It's not the end all be all. The less you think about technique, the better, especially if you're in a place where your voice is maybe compromised a little bit, if you're a little sick, something like that. Now, with that being said, she's also running on adrenaline. She's creating adrenaline. Of course, when you're in front of an audience like this, you're going to have that fight or flight mechanism kick in. You're going to have that situation where adrenaline is running through your body. You will be shocked by how positive an impact adrenaline can have on your singing. Now, at first, at the beginning levels, as singers, we often take that adrenaline as like nerves, and we don't want to do it. We feel like we're going to die. But when you learn to harness the power of that adrenaline, when you're sick or if you're not feeling well, or if you're low energy, that adrenaline can be your best friend in situations where you have to perform at a high level. Now, that goes hand in hand with having a very simple technique that you can rely on. So you shouldn't discount that. But the way that Sharon is performing now has tons of energy, tons of adrenaline, tons of function. Very simple technique that she has not overcomplicated for herself. The sound is very consistent, very clean, and she's it's nice until your legs give out. Yes, after you perform with a lot of adrenaline, you are going to be totally exhausted. But that just goes with the territory. And that's what the job is, basically, you know? Yes, and the audience can feel that adrenaline. So it all contributes to the same thing. It helps you perform better. It helps your voice work better. It gives the audience a better experience. It's all in all a really beautiful thing. And that is, I mean, that's what I see happening here, and it's just super exciting. I mean, the performance they give is unreal. Like they're so active on stage. This music is so gorgeous, but it's not just like grand symphonic music. There's that, you guys, some people might hate me for saying this, but there's that element of like poppiness that has that harmonic rhythm to it that you just feel and you enjoy. It gives you that like warmth in your heart instead of just this heavy wave of intellectual, music. This has that core that is so accessible to all people. Maybe that doesn't make sense, but that's how I feel about it. It's like you said last time, if you have fun and have a lot of energy, the crowd will too. Exactly. Because we all have the capacity to empathize, whether we know it or not. It's simple, it's heady, it's forward, it's broad. Oh, this song is so good. Oh my gosh. Even the orchestra director has a big smile on his face. Yeah. They have this, there's this whimsy. And even when we watched that concert from like 2002, it was like an earlier concert, and it was all about like the whimsy and magic that they were bringing to the audience through music, which was so cool. Like, so freaking cool. Ugh. Oh, I got anyway. You know what we love? We love a good Wacken open air concert. And that's exactly where this Within Temptation acoustic version of Ice Queen is from. So let me just go get that timestamp and skip this ad. And the timestamp you said is 26:34. Let's find that right here. Amazing. Wacken 2022. Let's try to get that. Twitch never thought anyone would get that high. Yeah. They didn't know. The API is broken. They were like, how would someone who's not a partner create content that entices people so meaningfully? And I said, fuck you for not giving me partner. I actually don't care that much. But regardless, we have an amazing community here. And the people here in chat, Capriani, Yop, everyone up on the leaderboard, everyone who's not on the leaderboard, anyone who's in Patreon, anyone who's in Discord, people who participate in the clinics with Mike, Mia, Fox, myself, that is the evidence of our amazing community. And that's what we do. Yeah, right? Yeah, we need a powerhouse widget. Hey. All right. So again, Within Temptation, this is the acoustic version of Ice Queen.
I know, it's like this is the heaviest festival on earth, but even so, we would like to play one acoustic song for you guys. To chill out, Maybe you recognize this one. Here we go. When leaves have fallen, skies turn to gray. The night keeps on closing in on the day.
All right, so we just listened to like the full version of the song from, mind you, like 15 years before this, approximately. Unrecognizable. Vocally, obviously musically as well, different orchestration. Just a guitar and just the voice which has changed over such a long time. Trinks is here, guys. Say hello to Trinks. Welcome, Trinks. The ultimate widget forged in the deepest dungeons. Yeah, exactly. Boy.
The nightingale sings his song of farewell. You better hide for freezing hell. On cold winds, she's coming. You better keep moving forward. You belong ahead. Oh, come on, can't you feel it? Can't you see it? You better believe. When she embraces your heart turns to stone.
So good.
She comes at night when you roll around. On cold winds, she's coming. You better keep moving forward. You belong ahead. Oh, come on, can't you feel it? Can't you see it? You better believe. Whenever she is raging, she takes a life away. Haven't you seen? Haven't you seen the ruins of our world?
I'm like flabbergasted at the difference. You like, this version sounds threatening, and the other version definitely does not sound threatening. Trinks, these are all monthly patron requests because I can't rely on a regular stream schedule anymore. So I'm doing, I have a specific number of requests available through Patreon per month, and that's how these are being chosen. Because I know I can find days here and there to be able to do them live while I'm doing my performing. So that's how the videos today are being selected. Yeah. And it's so interesting because I don't specifically prefer this style of vocalism to what she was doing 15 years prior, right? Obviously, this technique is what she's found herself fallen into. It's what her voice has naturally gravitated towards. I don't take her as the kind of person who kind of just explicitly like takes someone's advice on how to change your voice. This is a choice she made for herself. And it is so interesting that it's the complete opposite. And I really enjoy it. And it's a totally different vibe. The feeling of this song is so different. I don't understand how this is the same song as what we heard before. Obviously, it's acoustic, but it's the way that she's singing it that tells such a different story than before. All right, we're going. We're doing lyrics. What I'm going to try to do now is pull up the lyrics, and we're going to compare the interpretation of the lyrics from this version and the last one, trying to relate the vocal nuances. It's a different phase in her life that shines through. Yeah. She's a completely different person. There's so much changes in 15 years. You're not even the same person. The cells in your body have turned over and changed twice over the course of 14 years. So obviously she's a completely different person. But let's have some fun with the lyrics. Let's talk about some poetry. When leaves have fallen and skies turned into gray, the night keeps on closing in on the day. A nightingale sings his song of farewell. You better hide for her freezing hell. On cold wings she's coming. You better keep moving. For warmth you'll be longing. Nightingale, come on, just feel it. Don't you see it? You better believe. When she embraces your heart, turns to stone. She comes at night when you are all alone. And when she whispers your blood shall run cold, you better hide before she finds you. Whenever she is raging, she takes all life away. Haven't you seen the ruins of our world? Whenever she is raging, she takes all life away. Haven't you seen the ruins of our world? She covers the earth with a breathtaking cloak. The sun awakes and melts it away. The world now opens its eyes and sees the dawning of a new day. On cold wings she's coming. You better keep moving. For warmth you'll be longing. Nightingale, come on. Just feel it. Don't you see it? You better believe. Whenever she is raging, she takes all life away. Haven't you seen the ruins of our world? Whenever she is raging, she takes all life away. The last version we heard, again, pointless, as you pointed out in your description, it's bombastic. This is more like low-key and more grounded. I love that word because the way you described it, perfectly more grounded. I wonder if you got... I need to add... So on Patreon, I have a listening guide, and I need to add something like grounded and like a contrasting word to that, maybe like soaring, because grounded is a word I use often, and I love that way to describe... I love that word to describe specific types of singing, and that's exactly what we get here. Everything is in her body. It's deep, it's low, it's a comfortable released chest voice. It's not gripped or anything, but it's relaxed. Go do some audiobooks. I'm doing a couple of the voiceover works for Rafnik's video game that he's developing with some people. If you guys don't know Rafnik, he's sung on some clinics before in the past. He's in the Big Brain Singer community. I would love to do some audiobooks though. I know a lot of singers who do that. Yeah, the message is quite clear. The album, it's from the album Mother Earth, right? Winter is coming. That's what I'm getting. It's like, but it is a perspective shift. The first more bombastic, older, full group, full band recording, or a full band performance, the one that Capriani was at, it's like a worship. It's like a revelry in this Ice Queen. It's like a celebration of this Ice Queen. The ruins of our world is raging. It's coming. Just not in season 8, right? She takes all life away, having you seen. I mean, you can interpret it, the ice, as being, the death and decay of everything. Regardless. Yeah, season 8 was the crashing of sun into earth. That's funny. And then this one does feel like like a warning. I love the way that's phrased. This is more of an acceptance of the gruesome reality of the Ice Queen, whatever that means for you. But this does have that quality of it's too late. Whereas the more revelrous, more boisterous, higher, more lofty, more pingy, headier singing that she was doing back in 2005, I think, there's more naivete behind that. And then this one is backed up by so much more wisdom. And what's interesting is that as a singer, you know, if you look at, I have not been singing professionally for 15 years yet. However, if I look back 15 years ago at my life, I can definitely say I've learned a lot. I used to be a lot more naive, and I know a lot more now than I did then. And I'm sure Sharon would say the same about herself. That message comes across in her voice alone. I think that's what I'm trying to say. The original feels like a fairy tale. This feels like it is reality. Like she's talking directly to you with this music instead of creating like a whimsical escapist world to be within. That's a really good way of putting it. Eve, I love that. Early Within Temptation is high fantasy. Current Within Temptation is grim sci-fi. Yeah. She's melancholic because the ice is melting now. Yeah. That creates like a contrasting idea. She's smiling, right? Melancholic might not be the right terminology. I mean, it's definitely part of the feeling of the music. But there is this like grim acceptance. It has a more dystopian feel to it, perhaps. That's a fair point, Oracle. I love that grit she's adding. You would never hear that the way she sang before. Oh, that's sweet.
When she have fallen, skies turn to gray.
Well, I think the point that Eve was trying to make is the sound that they had before is like a fairy tale, and now it's like a dystopian sci-fi. Let's go back. I want to go back and listen to it again with a more, at least half of it. Listen to some parts of it with a more, after everything we just discussed, after everything we just talked about, with that idea of this being a more mature, more refined understanding of the subject material. We'll get to the high five. We'll get back to the high five. Very exposed. She's in a place here, even when she's just with guitar and they add the drums, the voice is so exposed here. It would be interesting, theoretically, if we heard Sharon from 15 years ago singing this acoustic version now, if it would work. Because an interesting thing about the voice being in such an exposed place where you just have a guitar and some like simple drums, the voice has to do a lot more of the heavy lifting in the acoustic setting. Earlier, when she's performing with the whole band, it really does feel like she blends in well. It's like, I think one of Freddie Mercury's biggest strong suits is that his voice fit in perfectly in an acoustic way with the whole band. And it was just the traits of his voice. So that's what made Queen Queen. There was so much balance between all of the amazing sounds. And his voice was obviously one of the more unique parts that brought together. Now, could we say the same thing about Sharon? Her voice has changed a lot, and she stands out more, I believe, as a soloist now than she did before then, purely from an acoustical way. So she can carry more weight in her noise, in her sound. She can carry more, what's the best word? Like responsibility. She holds her own better in a more exposed orchestration, such as this acoustic version. I think that would be a good way of putting it.
Come on, can't you feel it? Can't you see it? You better believe. Whenever she is raging, she takes a life away.
There's so much under that.
Haven't you seen the ruins of our world? Cold winds just coming. You better keep moving forward. You belong here. Oh, come on, can't you feel it? Can't you? See it, you better believe. When she have fallen, skies turn to gray.
High five. Now,
You see, that's metal audience. They appreciate when you just do your own thing. Thank you so much, guys!
that statement is so interesting. We've been having this dialogue for a couple weeks now about Within Temptation, what Within Temptation has become over the last, 2 decades. And when she says it that way, it gives a lot of insight as to how she looks at the situation, where they're, as a band, they've changed their sound a lot, but they've never really strayed. They've only kind of grown from their own perspective. So to her, she's doing her own thing, and they're doing their own thing. They're figuring out their own way of doing things. And she goes, yeah, the metal audience, they appreciate when you're doing your own thing. And as a self-taught singer, she's likely always been doing her own thing, right? How brilliant is that? And that's just how she looks at it. So there might be different arguments and different points of discussion about it, but that's a really revealing statement. I love it. Metalheads go apeshit to folk music. Yeah. You can tell, like you look at like Blind Guardian and their like folky influence in their music and how awesome that is. That's so cool. Points of pointless discussion even. Yeah. That's oh man. She is so wholesome. This is brilliant. That's a great comparison. I will combine this with the reaction to the one from 2005 with the full band, and we'll send that out. All right. Brilliant. I'm thrilled. This is such a good stream. These requests are so good. Okay. Let us continue on to, yeah, of course, Pointless. You got some great requests.